Let's do a quick thought experiment. Think about the last summer heat wave in your city. The kind where stepping outside felt like opening an oven door. The kind where the asphalt shimmered and the air conditioner ran nonstop for 2 weeks. Now ask yourself, was that normal? Or does it feel like summers keep getting longer, more brutal, more relentless? Here's what the data says. Urban areas are warming at roughly twice the rate of their surrounding rural regions. Not because of some meteorological accident, but because of the very way cities are designed. The concrete, the asphalt, the glass towers, the absence of trees. Your city is actively manufacturing its own heat. And the hotter it gets, the more energy it uses to cool down, which produces more heat, which makes it hotter. It's a cycle nobody signed up for, but everyone is paying for. Scientists have a name for it, the urban heat island effect. The basic principle is deceptively simple. Natural surfaces, soil, grass, trees, water, absorb sunlight and release it slowly, often through evaporation. Urban surfaces, concrete, asphalt, brick, metal, absorb enormous amounts of heat and release it quickly and continuously, including through the night. The result is that a dense urban core can be anywhere from 1 to 7 degrees Celsius hotter than the surrounding countryside on any given day, and significantly hotter on calm, clear nights when the heat has nowhere to escape. 7 degrees might not sound dramatic until you start thinking about what it means for human biology, for energy systems, for public health. At what point does a warm summer day become a deadly one? Lower than most people think. Here's a number that should stop you cold. Heat kills more Americans every year than hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods combined. Not in the abstract future, right now, today. Heat is the deadliest weather-related phenomenon in the United States, and has been for decades. Yet it receives a fraction of the media coverage, the emergency preparedness funding, and the policy attention of more visually dramatic disasters. In 2021, a heat dome settled over the Pacific Northwest, a region famously known for its mild, temperate climate. Portland, Oregon reached 116 degrees Fahrenheit, shattering its previous record by more than 10 degrees. Nearly 800 people died across Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia in under a week. Most of them were elderly. Most of them were alone. Most of them were in cities, in buildings with no air conditioning, because until that week, nobody in Portland thought they needed it. That event was not an anomaly. It was a preview. Climate scientists are increasingly clear that extreme heat events that once occurred once per decade will, within the coming decades, occur multiple times per year in many urban regions. And cities are structurally unprepared, not just because of climate change, but because of how they were built. The urban heat island effect isn't an accident of nature. It's a direct consequence of planning decisions. Decisions about what to build, what to pave, and crucially, what to remove. Start with trees. Urban tree canopy cover. The percentage of a city's surface area shaded by trees has been declining in most American cities for decades. A 2021 study published in Urban Forestry found that 13 of the 20 most populous American cities lost tree canopy between 2011 and 2016. The culprits are development pressure, aging trees that aren't replaced, and budget cuts to urban forestry programs. Trees are extraordinarily effective at cooling urban environments. A single mature tree can provide the cooling effect equivalent to 10 room-sized air conditioners running for 20 hours per day. Remove enough of them and you fundamentally change the thermal character of a neighborhood. Then there's the matter of pavement. The average American city devotes somewhere between 30 and 40% of its total surface area to roads and parking lots. Traditional asphalt is one of the most thermally punishing materials that exists. It absorbs up to 95% of incident solar radiation. By mid-afternoon on a summer day, asphalt surface temperatures can exceed 65 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cause burns on contact. All of that stored energy radiates back into the surrounding air through the evening and night, preventing cities from cooling down even when the sun has set. There's also the matter of albedo, a fancy word for reflectivity. Natural landscapes are relatively reflective. Urban landscapes are designed for durability and drainage, not reflectivity. Dark rooftops, dark pavement, dark facades. They're all absorbing heat that a lighter surface would reflect harmlessly back into the atmosphere. And then there is waste heat. The heat generated by human activity itself. The heat from cars, from air conditioners exhausting hot air into the street, from industrial processes, from data centers, from restaurants and retail. In a dense urban environment, this anthropogenic heat output is enormous. In some very dense urban cores, waste heat production approaches or exceeds the heat absorbed from solar radiation. Phoenix, Arizona is the most instructive case study in the country. It is the fastest growing large city in the United States, and it has been adding pavement, rooftops, and concrete at a pace that is staggering. Between 1970 and today, the Phoenix metropolitan area grew from roughly 200 square miles to over 500 square miles. All of that new suburban development, the roads, the parking lots, the rooftops, the strip malls, has transformed what was once desert scrubland with its own natural cooling mechanisms into an enormous heat-storing slab. Phoenix's minimum overnight temperatures have risen by nearly 10 degrees Fahrenheit since 1970. The city now regularly records nights where temperatures never drop below 90 degrees. In a city where air conditioning isn't a luxury but a medical necessity, those temperatures mean that power outages can kill within hours. And they do. Phoenix recorded 425 heat-related deaths in 2022 alone, more than triple the number from a decade earlier. On the other side of the world, Singapore offers a radically different case study. Singapore is one of the densest, hottest, most humid cities on Earth. It should, by all rights, be an extreme heat island. But Singapore made a deliberate decision decades ago to become a city in a garden. The government requires greenery on rooftops and building facades, maintains one of the highest urban tree canopy densities in Asia, and integrates water features throughout the urban fabric. Singapore is still hot, but it is measurably cooler than it would be otherwise, and its approach has become a template for cities across Southeast Asia. The economic costs of urban heat are vast and often invisible because they show up in dozens of different ledgers. There's the energy cost. Cities that are hotter require more energy for cooling, which drives up electricity demand, which raises prices for everyone. The EPA estimates that for every 0.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, peak electricity demand rises by 1.5 to 2%. Across a large metropolitan area, that's billions of dollars annually. There's the productivity cost. Research from Harvard and Stanford has consistently found that when temperatures rise above 27 degrees Celsius, human cognitive performance measurably declines. Workers make more errors. Decision-making slows. Physical laborers face serious health risks. A study published in Nature Climate Change estimated that heat-related productivity losses in the United States cost the economy over $100 billion per year. A figure that grows with every degree of warming. And then there is the equity dimension, which is perhaps the most damning. Heat islands are not distributed evenly across cities. Study after study has found that historically redlined neighborhoods that were denied mortgage lending and investment for decades, have significantly less tree canopy, more pavement, and more impervious surface than wealthier, historically white neighborhoods in the same cities. In many American cities, the temperature difference between the hottest and coolest neighborhoods in the same metro area exceeds 10 degrees Celsius. Heat, in other words, is a justice issue. The urban heat island is not a peripheral issue. It is a central challenge of 21st century urbanism. As the global climate continues to warm, cities that do not actively address their internal heat dynamics will become increasingly unlivable, particularly for the elderly, the very young, outdoor workers, and those without access to air conditioning. The compounding nature of the problem: hotter cities use more energy to cool, which produces more emissions, which warms the climate, makes inaction progressively more expensive. The good news, and there is genuine good news here, is that the solutions are well understood. Green roofs, which cover building tops with vegetation, can reduce surface temperatures by up to 30 degrees Celsius compared to conventional black rooftops. Cool pavement technologies, which use reflective materials or water-absorbing surfaces, can significantly reduce ground-level temperatures. Urban tree planting programs, if sustained and properly funded, can meaningfully shift the thermal character of a neighborhood within a decade. Several cities are moving aggressively. Los Angeles launched a Cool Streets program that has painted 70+ miles of roads with a light gray reflective coating, reducing surface temperatures by up to 5 degrees Celsius. Melbourne, Australia, has committed to doubling its urban forest canopy by 2040. Rotterdam has installed green roofs on over 17% of its eligible building stock, a figure it plans to triple. But these programs require sustained political will and funding that is difficult to maintain across election cycles, particularly when the benefits are gradual and diffuse. The cities that will be livable in 30 years are those making investments today that won't fully pay off until the next generation is in charge. Your city is getting hotter every year. Not just because of global warming, though that's real and accelerating, but because of choices made about concrete, trees, pavement, and development that are entirely within human control. The urban heat island is a man-made problem, which means it is, at least in theory, a man-made problem that can be solved. But solving it requires treating heat as the public health emergency. It already is. Rather than the uncomfortable seasonal inconvenience it's been allowed to remain. Every summer that passes without meaningful intervention is another summer of preventable deaths, preventable costs, and preventable misery. The thermometer is telling us something. The question is whether anyone in power is listening.